Good morning and welcome to Frontiers of Knowledge segment of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Ozone is a word which has different connotations for different people. It conjures up a vision of health and it conjures up a vision of hellish climate apocalypse. The word ozone comes from the Greek word ozein, which means to smell. Now it's amazing because ozone is supposed to be non-smelling, but the root is ozein. It's an allotropy, a different form of oxygen. And this oxygen is made with three atoms rather than with dioxygen with two atoms. And normally in the atmosphere, you get oxygen with two atoms. And since ozone has three atoms, it has increased its allure to the scientific community. But ozone by itself is of interest to a lot many people. Now, dioxygen, whatever you want to call it, sustains life on the earth. So much so that it is much supposed to be much more potent than the other form of oxygen, which is with two atoms. And the idea took place, it took roots, and then it grew up. That ozone was healthy, and the people flocked to the seaside. Why? Because the seaside seemed to be ozone rich, and the decently discovered formation of hole in the ozone layer in the Arctic region seems to knock the wind out of the people who thought of ozone as life-giving. It's true that the recent pandemic, COVID-19, has pushed ozone depletion to the back, but the scientists, the climatologists, they are still working on ozone depletion and ozone hole. Remember, when the greatest fear of the global destruction seemed to be the depleting ozone layer, and that was because if the ozone is depleted, if the three atom oxygen is not there, then the harmful ultraviolet radiation from the sun would come and affect us. There was nothing certain about it, it was a hypothesis, but it was scary. People got afraid. And then first came the news, and the news was amazing. The news was that the hole of the Antarctic was smaller than ever. Amazing. The one year they say is growing larger, and the next year they come up, the scientists, is smallest ever. And then they said that this is because of the word success in phasing out the use of CFC gases, chlorofluorocarbon gases like freon and helium and others. And those gases were implicated in destroying atmospheric ozone. And now, since your fridges, your air conditioners are freon free and the CFC gases are reduced, so again, ozone layer is there and the hole has become smallest ever. And lo and behold, comes another news that while the Antarctic hole is smallest hole ever observed, of course, the hole on the Arctic, that the North Pole, has increased. And why? Because of CFCs, which need very low temperature to become active. And that has been happening because of the prolonged polar vortex. You remember for the last couple of years, we people living in Canada and North America have been listening to this word polar vortex a lot. Wind comes, sleet comes, snow comes, and we say this time it's going to be harsher winter because of polar vortex. And that is also now the cause of increasing hole of ozone. But we are told that this would be temporary. This increase in hole, the decrease of ozone, is a temporary process, but still people are worried. Such confusion always seems to accompany ozone layer stories, with scientists constantly disputing how bad things are, and then coming up with the apologies, as I posted yesterday on Twitter and on the Facebook. That well-known climatologist has published a book in which he says that it was all a sham, the climate change. There was nothing real in that. Now, perhaps this shifting of the scientists' opinion, of course, reflects our uncertain times when the science news is vitally important but frustratingly unclear. For a purely chemical substance, ozone has always been very curiously linked to the human history. And that's what I'm going to talk about. Even before its nature was fully understood, scientists became aware of the powerful properties of ozone, changing other substances and their properties. And this process now we call oxidation. I remember in 1900, early 1900s, I read it. An article was published, The Ozone Cure. And when I read it, I was amazed. Is it possible? This our article, The Ozone Cure, was by a German scientist who concluded, and quote, in travel by sea lies the grand hope of the race. See the effects of the ozone abounding sea air and the rush through it at the rate of 15 or 20 miles an hour. Now you'll be laughing at it. Free from the business and other cares has proved to be the hit. So, going at a very peaceful speed in an ocean with the ozone rich sea air affecting you. Now, this caught the imagination of the cruise operators, the cruise liners, and they used this appeal, the sea and the ozone rich air giving you health. Wow. That appealed to the people and it was used until coronavirus provided a contagious counter argument and the people stopped traveling by the cruises. Now, interest in ozone as a restorer of exhaustive human vitality continue to grow. Once a new idea comes up, then there are always people who are apologists for that, who say, well, this is something new, something novel. So, ozone as a panacea for that debilitating and weakening human vitality was promoted by the cruise operators, and then the journalists and the pseudoscientists cut on that. And then came the news that ozone has multifarious uses. First was this purification of water. Then, so, since this purifies water, why use chlorine in the swimming pools? Chlorine can be harmful. Let's have ozone treated swimming pools. They are superior, although expensive, alternatives to the common chlorine treatment and other antibacterial uses. And since they are better, they are more expensive, and people prefer to pay for better things, even if they are not better really. And this grew to such a point that the American Medical Association said, no, this is all bunk. They issued an irritating appeal. In the same year, they said this is an obsession. Ozone treated water is not much better than any other antibacterial process. And they noted that the purifying abilities were not great. And then came the bombshell. Not only the purifying qualities of ozone not great, but in fact, too much of exposure to ozone was harmful. So the bottom line of the cruise advertisement campaign that ozone is health giving, ozone treated water is good, all that was knocked out. And the people started floundering. What is right and what is wrong? And then AMA, American Medical Association, said that the ozone's appeal seems to derive from its characteristic smell, which has the property of masking bad odors, and it destroys neither the cause nor the effect. So it's like a aerosol spray. You have some bad smell coming, you spray on that. So by itself, it overpowers that bad smell, but it doesn't destroy the cause, and the effect would also remain the same. And ozone, in fact, started to seem dangerous when it was detected as one of the components of the bad air blanketing modern cities. All that smog, the bad air. And then, as a matter of fact, the Californian Institute of Technology recognized that exhaust from the cars and oil refineries, combined with LA's abundant sunlight, had triggered certain chemicals reactions that generated ozone, causing a photochemical haze around the city. And that was extremely harmful. And that was the 1950s. Few decades passed, and pendulums again swims. So it was in favor of ozone, cruise liners, swimming pools, and on. And now it's bad, it's pollutant, and everything. And again they say, no, it's good. The new research again comes up that ozone layer is a safeguard for the earth and essential to the growth of life, as important as the oxygen for sustaining it. And the troubling holes were identified, links made to CFCs, which are abundantly used in fridges, and it was a early proof how human activity harmed the planet, and the harm was potentially fatal. As always with the humans, and also with ozone, there's another side. Perhaps the key point about the ozone and CFC is not what's happening, but that the world finally moved to fix it. Despite doubts from the science, opposition from the industry, and the protest on developing world, it has been paying the problem for the developed world. In the end, the countries came together, signed the famous and notorious Montreal Protocol, and then the Paris Protocol to limit CFCs and save the ozone layer. So the fluctuation between the like for ozone and dislike for ozone, for passionate espousal for its being health giving, and also as it being a mere mask to evince something like homeopathy. People swear by it and people call it junk, so much so that Australia said it is nothing but quackery. The reduction of the hole on the Antarctic is definitely linked to this, and it slows down when the world really wants. So, human activity and the nature, they have to work in tandem. The same thing can be good or bad depending on the situation and the limit of its utility. Excessive use would always be harmful. It's worth remembering that the more the global cooperation will be needed to fight a threat. And this ozone layer is important, but it's not definitely life sustaining and life promoting. It is just one aspect of human life. But the scientists and their grace for creating mountains of the molehills at one time make it life giving and life sustaining and then life destroying. So this is the human history of ozone, which makes a definitely very interesting and informative reading. Don't you think so? Think about it till we meet next week. Thank you.